And my wish to you is success and millions and billions.
22 and 49.
Diddy is 49 years old.
Oh, man!
That is a 27-year difference.
No one expected the story to resurface like this. For years, people assumed Lori Harvey quietly moved on after distancing herself from a powerful celebrity circle that often attracted controversy. What once felt like tabloid chatter suddenly took a darker turn when unnamed industry voices began suggesting there was far more happening behind the scenes. According to these claims, private footage and sealed conversations may exist that reframe several high-profile moments from the past. Fans started connecting dots between public appearances, sudden disappearances, and unexplained silence on social media. Events from 2019 were pulled back into focus not because of what was proven but because of how people reacted afterward. Comment sections were locked, schedules shifted, and public behavior changed almost overnight. None of this confirms wrongdoing, but it raised uncomfortable questions. When reactions feel bigger than the rumor itself, people start wondering what's being protected. The real tension isn't about relationships. It's about who controls the story and why silence suddenly became so valuable.
Her mother is 54 years old. Her mother is 5 years older than Puffy.
Inside the entertainment world, the response wasn't emotional. It was strategic. Sources describe a familiar pattern whenever sensitive rumors surface. Phones go quiet, conversations move offline, and legal teams step in before headlines do. No public denials, no explanations, just controlled silence. That silence itself became noticeable. High-profile figures were seen scaling back appearances, canceling meetings, and limiting access to trusted circles only. Insiders claim that concern wasn't sparked by hackers or tabloids, but by someone from within an old inner circle who no longer wanted to stay quiet. This coincided with growing federal scrutiny in unrelated cases, which made past behavior feel newly risky. Moments once dismissed as coincidence, canceled shoots, sudden travel, unexplained absences, began to look more intentional. Nothing here is confirmed, but the coordination suggested preparation, not panic. When powerful people stop talking all at once, it usually means something matters more than public image control.
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
By early 2020, subtle shifts became harder to ignore. Social media pages were cleaned up, comments disabled, and public visibility reduced. Fans filled the silence with speculation, while industry insiders quietly watched relationships strain behind the scenes. What stood out wasn't confrontation but tension. Meetings canceled, staff reshuffled, and long-standing routines disrupted. Later, when unrelated lawsuits surfaced years after, they reopened old conversations about private recordings, confidentiality agreements, and unspoken power dynamics. None of these cases named everyone involved, but the industry began whispering about how often silence had been purchased rather than earned. Long-time partnerships suddenly looked less like friendship and more like mutual protection. The narrative shifted away from scandal toward structure, how influence, money, and fear can quietly align people's interests. The real concern wasn't exposure alone, but precedent. If one secret surfaces, others follow. And in an industry built on perception, that possibility is enough to make even the most confident figures uneasy.
Jay?
Yeah.
At this point? I would want, why?
Right, just that.
One question kept circulating quietly. If certain individuals were harmed, why were they still shielded? And if they weren't, why did everyone treat them like they held something dangerous? Sources describe a strange contradiction: public neutrality paired with private urgency. Some insiders suggested silence agreements were framed as protection, while others believed leverage was involved. Public appearances continued, but with calculated restraint. Smiles looked rehearsed. Performances carried hidden tension. Even major business launches felt overshadowed by anticipation rather than celebration. Meanwhile, investigators in unrelated cases reportedly uncovered digital material labeled only by initials, details never confirmed, but widely speculated about. Within the industry, those initials were enough to spark anxiety. Executives who once closed ranks now quietly cooperated with authorities, often after securing legal safeguards for themselves. That shift alone spoke volumes. When longtime protectors begin distancing themselves, it suggests the risk has changed, not guilt risk. And in powerful circles, that distinction matters.
But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious past. Okay.
What once looked like isolated settlements began to resemble a pattern. Large payouts, quiet relocations, and non-disclosure agreements created an artificial calm that fooled the public but not insiders. These agreements weren't framed as admissions, they were framed as solutions. As money moved, so did loyalty. Former collaborators distanced themselves. Brand partnerships were quietly restructured. Foundations reshuffled leadership. None of this made headlines, but together it painted a picture of preparation. Cryptic social media posts from past associates hinted at recorded moments and forgotten truths, always vague enough to avoid legal trouble. Industry veterans understood the subtext. The real currency wasn't fame or cash, it was leverage. Allegedly recorded material, if it existed, functioned as insurance, protection against betrayal. But once legal pressure increased elsewhere, that insurance turned into liability. The question stopped being "did it happen?" and became "who still has access?"
And he was asking about her, and then he was asking me stuff like, would you be interested in, like, somebody watching? He was just asking some really, really bugged out questions. And I still have those emails. I still have all that, So, like, that's one of the things that I was going to include in the book. I'm just trying to figure out how I would do that.
As scrutiny intensified, public behavior shifted again. Appearances became selective, venues smaller, media access tighter. Lyrics, interviews, and branding choices took on layered meanings only insiders seemed to understand. Behind the scenes, sources described paranoia. Phones left outside rooms, conversations ending abruptly, names no longer spoken aloud. Past incidents, once dismissed as personal drama, were reinterpreted as warning signs. Some believed family conflicts weren't about jealousy, but about knowledge, about recognizing patterns before others did. Relationships once marketed as unbreakable began to look transactional. Loyalty had terms, silence had value, and legacy became something to manage rather than celebrate. Entertainment lawyers summarized it simply: when protection relies on secrecy, the system eventually eats itself. The public sees glamour. The industry sees contracts, risk, and exposure. What's collapsing isn't individual reputations. It's the belief that control can last forever.
What's the best advice they've given you?
Just remember that you're the prize at all times.
Boom.
Best advice.
As new filings loom and investigations continue elsewhere, the industry's mood has shifted from confidence to dread. Emergency meetings, data audits, and quiet exits are happening everywhere. No one says why, but everyone understands. Deleted posts, sudden retirements, rebranded ventures. None of it feels accidental. Through it all, Lori Harvey remains silent, unintentionally becoming a symbol of what happens when someone survives proximity to power. She doesn't need to speak. Her presence alone unsettles the narrative. Some believe evidence has already been copied and passed quietly. Others insist it was destroyed. But behavior tells its own story. Too much movement. Too much caution. Too much silence. When loyalty turns into liability, even empires hesitate. The real truth may never be spoken publicly, because the most dangerous secrets aren't the ones exposed, but the ones everyone agrees are too costly to confirm. And that silence, it's louder than any confession.